I am really excited to see what you do with this character. Just before we start, like, you've got some really interesting skills that I am not sure how they're going to weave into the fabric of this story, but they're going to.
So part of this character came about with me and my friend, joking about how great Hunter the Vigil is, and somehow we started discussing the Union. And the next thing you know, we're talking about what if, you set the game in Hollywood and you had all the IATSE members and SAG members, and not the union of, the plumbers or the woodworkers, but just, a slightly different group of people in the union than you would anticipate.
Okay. On a overcast Wednesday night in winter in Boston, the stage is set just outside the Boston Opera House. It's 30 minutes till curtain call, when a gentleman is overcome by the spotlight for a moment. As we pan in, we see a man, aged 35 years old. He's of Turkish descent, and his name is Adem Hazar. Nightfall, why don't you go ahead and tell us a physical description of Adem?
So Adem is kind of an unassuming gentleman who has, a nice kept beard. Kind of standard style for someone about 35, though he does dress a little bit nicer. Tends to wear suits and ties a lot, given the fact that he's a tailor.
So on this particular night, Adem is backstage at the Boston Opera House, and he's making last-minute changes and alterations to the costumes of the performers. Many people are busy about stagehands, riggings, gaffers. Everyone is just getting ready for the show. There is an air of joy and overwhelming anticipation mixed with the tantalizing grip of anxiety. Adem, however, calm and stoic as always, prepares his many stitchings and with a keen eye finishes up one of the tailored suits for the prima donna, one of the operosio singers. As you finish the stitching, it's almost as if the singer is above you. He pays no attention. After all, this is your job to fix his attire. He kind of scoffs, brushing against you, and thanks you abruptly and heads off as you hear everyone from the backstage crew whisper that 20 minutes and that house is packed. This moment that you see a gentleman off in the distance on the side stage. He's not in plain view of anyone, but he seems to be talking to one of the many stagehands. He's pointing at you, but for now, it doesn't seem to be anything other than a glance and a stare. Just at that moment, one of the other main performers for the evening rushes up to you. His eyes are caked with tears and the residuals of makeup.
Adem, you have to help me. I was doing squats, trying to warm up. The hamstrings are real important when you're trying to sing. Can you fix this hem quick, please?
From there, you see about a 6-inch stitch ripping from the bottom of his anklet up to his knee.
This is an absolute travesty. People die in other countries for this. The show has to go on and I have to be out there. Can you do...
Yes. Let's get you backstage.
Seeing what you have on you, and obviously not your full tools, you need your tools. You have, we'll say, a moderate amount of thread and needle on you. Go ahead and give me a wits roll and a craft roll. So give me wits plus craft, and you get your bonuses for tailoring. Okay, so we'll say your hands work deftly, and you stitch up the seam. You don't even take the pants off the gentleman. That's how good you are. You set the main line stitch, and you bring the bouffant the whole way down to the anklet, and the pants stitch together seamlessly. It's art, honestly. The gentleman breathes a heavy sigh.
Thank you so much, Adem. I appreciate you. How did you get into this in the first place? You're like some sort of magician the way you use that, right?
Well, I always loved theater, and so I found something that, tied into, things that I was good at. It's one of those things where, moms taught me how to sew and everything. Please see me after the show, though, so that way I can make sure that the stitch hold for future shows.
Of course, I love you so much, Adem. Thank you.
He scurries off. Just then, the whispers come back.
10 minutes, okay. 10 minutes.
Amazingly, you were able to accomplish that in under 10. A bald-headed gentleman with a microphone over his ears, a piece so he can talk, and the whole handful of papers, clearly some sort of stage direction, walks up to you.
Adem, I gotta ask you real quick. We got about 5 people in the back that are gonna have their costume changes coming in an hour and a half at most. You're gonna have to be back there to help with any alterations they need, last minute buttons, zippers. We clear? You got that all down?
Not a problem.
Okay, is there anything you need from the house before we get started?
Maybe some Turkish delights. Don't worry, I brought those. Anyways, let's get started.
You're a strange man, Adem. But, alright. I'll see you in a couple of minutes. Oh, before I go, there's this crazy looking suit over in the corner. He was talking to one of the stagehands. I think you wanted to have a word from you. Apparently some kind of bigwig or something from the city. I don't know. You might want to go over and check it out when you get a chance. 10 minutes, so get off the stage. You're a star, but not...
That's why we're all black.
He points over to another gentleman, the one you saw before that was more or less pointing in your general direction.
Go give him... Go see what the fuck he wants. I don't got time for this, okay? I appreciate it. We're going to take care of you. And as always, we'll pay you at the end of the night, okay?
Sounds good.
As you walk over to the gentleman, he's about 6 foot even, very thin, very lithe, very sophisticated. Think like Great Gatsby, sort of, that kind of visage. He looks you dead in the eyes, he tilts his head, and he smirks. I take it that you're the Stitch Master here? Is that correct? Obviously, there's a better term for it, but I don't know it.
Well, I focus on the tailoring, yes.
I see. So, tell me, do you have a shop in town? Are you published anywhere? Are your designs out?
You know, a little small shop.
I was told that all the costumes in here were proprietary. You made them yourself?
Of course not. You know, I've worked with the opera company as well as, you know, some other employees to, you know, try to bring together, you know, the pieces quickly.
You know what I like about you? That you're incredibly modest. You have the talent and you have the skill, and yet you put the other people in front of your own grandiose appeal. I represent somebody of influence in the Boston City Commons area. He goes by the name of Mr. Go-Gets. He's a socialite. You might know him. Have you maybe heard of him?
Fortunately, the name does not ring a bell. Would you like a card?
I would love a card, but I would also like to talk to you after the show. You see, Mr. Go-Gets is in the market for a custom tailor. He doesn't like to use someone who makes the essential suit. And judging by the remarkable skill that you have with the needle and thread, I'd say Mr. Go-Gets might enjoy and employ and heavily compensate someone with your skill. In fact, he sent me here tonight to talk to you about that, and he even gave me the rights to, you know, have you sign a contract with him. All we need is your name on the dotted line, and there you go. We can talk after the show if you want, but does that sound like something that might interest you?
Well, here's my card. And perhaps, you know, we should chat a little bit more later on. Just kind of, you know, the ins and outs and the requirements that he might need for such suits.
Of course.
He reaches into the right side of his suit pocket and pulls out an envelope. He opens it, revealing $1,000 petty cash.
Mr. Go-Gets has given me this. It's a stipend off of his hedge fund. He'd like to offer it to you simply just for hearing him out and for considering your time with him. Please, he'll be very upset if you don't take this. Again, it's no big deal. It's out of the hedge fund. He couldn't care much about it.
Do you take the envelope?
The moment I'm going to say no, he politely refuses and says, let's talk afterwards. Unfortunately, I'm a busy man. At the moment, as curtain call is about ready, and I need to make my disappearance. Where would be a good place to meet? Well, maybe like the Starbucks block away after the show?
I'll tell you what. Following the show, I'll stick around for a little bit, and if you like, we can go to the Starbucks down the road and talk a little bit about it. Does that sound all right with you?
Sounds perfect.
Fantastic.
He kind of like bows his head. It's out of the normal, I would say, for someone of his height. It looks kind of goofy. Can you go ahead and roll me a wits plus composure? Perfect. So as he bows his head and reaches out his hand to shake yours, you guys exchange handshakes. He walks away. You can't help but notice the strange cologne he's wearing. It smells as if you just walked into an alpine forest with the tiniest, faintest scent of candy. It's the strangest thing. It's probably something by Curve or Tommy Hilfiger, but it's distinct. It's very distinct and will definitely make a memory for you going forward. So, as the spotlight pans out on Mr. Adem, the crowd roars to a clap. The show is about to begin. The curtain rises. Adem is far back into the shadows, watching the opera, watching the pawns and the puppets on the stage, and he's overwhelmed with a sense of joy, a sense of accomplishment. He just got offered a job. The show is going on because of his adept fingers. His skill shines through. And what's more important to this humble tailor is not that he himself pulled this off, but he was able to tightly knit his team together to pull the show off. It is a great night. It is a hypercharged night of both enthusiasm, anticipation, and joy. But if you know anything about the world, joy sparks a butterfly effect. For every action and every emotion, there is an equal and opposing emotion.